Ignition sequence starts. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Liftoff. We have a liftoff.
Hey everybody, this is the Digital Asset Investor. Today, I wanted to talk to you about risk and reward, because ultimately, that is what all of us are here for. The higher the risk, the higher the reward. And this article that I found this morning really illustrates how far we've come versus where we were, say, when I started into this in 2013, 2014. In 2000, just those of you that are new to this, in 2013, 14, in that period of time, I mean, on almost a daily basis, we read articles about how Bitcoin and all this was for the purposes of money launderers and thieves and criminals, and we were hearing about how China was going to ban this exchange and they were going to ban cryptocurrencies altogether. And it was a really scary time for those of us that were investing. It was a constant boomerang of good feeling, bad feeling, and you almost felt like you were some bad guy just for having discovered this technology that you thought your gut told you might change the world. But I tell you all of that to tell you, and it's not just back then. We've seen the same things this year. This year, I think they were done more in a more manipulative way, whereas back then, I believe it was more out of governments that were first seeing this and they were really scared. But I wanted to go over this article with you and what Corey Johnson from Ripple said, so that you can understand just how far we've come, and also understand that you as a Ripple XRP holder, yes, you've had to be brave. You've had to go through about 9 months of a very scary bear market, but you'll be rewarded for that bravery, and you'll be rewarded because you took the risk, and therefore you stand to gain from the greatest reward. So in this article, Corey Johnson, it's called Ripple's Corey Johnson says blockchain solutions are going to change the way money and value move in our society. The first thing that I want to note from this article, as well as many things I've read lately, is those of you that may or may not have recognized it, the Ripple executives seem to have a whole lot of swagger these days. I don't know if you've noticed, but the way they carry themselves, the way they speak, the confidence with which they speak tells me that they know, and if you listen to this article, they know what's coming. They know that they have pulled it off. They pulled off the miracle when everything has been against them for the last 5 years, and they know that the victory is imminent. Okay, so in this article, Corey Johnson is basically talking about how he speaks with the regulators and how at this point for the United States and the any countries that have kind of been waffling on the regulatory environment aspect of this, it's time to get on board. And he sees them getting on board. He doesn't see them not wanting to get on board. He sees that they realize that they have no choice, but they know that this is going to change the world. And I'm going to read you the first quote that he says in here. He says, "When we meet with regulators, I have personally been really surprised by how much they know and how much they really want to know. They don't seem to walk into this with sort of this notion of fear and doubt. They actually want to listen and to learn." And so, in other words, he's getting a completely different vibe than maybe what you've been reading in the news even this year. Where they're trying to scare us into thinking that they're going to declare Ripple XRP some type of security. It's not going to happen. These guys are so entrenched with the connections at Ripple that these guys are go and look at the people that have regulatory backgrounds on Ripple's website. Look at the people that are either on the board or work for Ripple, And if you think that they haven't covered this base with as much money as on the line, you are crazy. But the next thing that he goes on to mention in this article is, they said giving some examples like Singapore, Malta, Switzerland, Liechtenstein that we talk about all the time here, and Estonia, where the governments have made decisions to embrace blockchain technology. See, that's been the problem for any of the governments of the world who didn't want to get involved in blockchain and wanted to ban cryptocurrencies. That's been their problem from the beginning, is that there were always going to be a few countries, and all it took was one country to start opening crypto banks and this sort of thing, and all the other countries didn't have a choice. But he says another thing in this article, and this is where the rubber really meets the road for the United States, and he's 100% right. Traditionally, and from the internet boom, Silicon Valley was ground zero of technology. The money made in Silicon Valley, many of the people that you hear about in the crypto space now are millionaires that came out of the .com boom in Silicon Valley. And if you think for a second that the United States is not going to let Silicon Valley lead the way in this crypto boom that's here to stay, you're out of your mind. And he says in here, it says entrepreneurs will pick those, he's referring to those countries that have become so blockchain friendly. He says entrepreneurs would pick those as opposed to the Silicon Valley if the regulators remain hostile to these technologies. And so that's the writing on the wall for the United States. You better believe that they're going to let Silicon Valley, because if Silicon Valley makes the money, that money eventually ends up in Washington, D.C. for the politicians, just like everything. So just be assured of that. I am not an investment advisor. I'm the digital asset investor, and this is for entertainment purposes only. I hope that you'll please subscribe and hit the like button. And I do want you guys to finish. I want to finish this by showing you one quote that I think is really important in the environment that you've been in, the 9+ month bear market. I'm going to read you one of my favorite Winston Churchill quotes, and it goes like this. I'm going to try to pull it up so you can actually see it. Let's see. There we go. If you're going through hell, keep going. And I think that pretty much sums it up. I will talk to you later.